welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. I am Flux, the host of the show, and this is all about fresh meat today. In recent episodes, I asked for new guests who might like to be on the show. Some of the longtime guests haven't heard from much lately and doing other things this summer and not available to talk about Diablo 3, so better to get some new people on, and you will hear two of them on this show. We have Dragoonus and Dave the Brave, both of whom you can see fairly often in the comments and forums on DiabloII.net, and both making their podcast debut here. So, I've been to this at the start. We can do it now. It's I can edit it back in or something, or just take it from intro. So, what would you like to have your online name be, and how long have you been following Diablo 3? What's your history with RPGs, etc.? Give me your little bio here.
Well, I go by Dragoonus.
Why should people value your opinions on Diablo 3?
Because...
Why are you smarter than other people?
Oh, man. Well, I don't think I'm smarter than I don't think I'm smarter than many of the people that are on your podcast. I love this game. This game has...
Good answer.
This game is... I just love I love the intricacy of this game, and you can still mix and match certain pieces of gear, and there's always somehow you can get better, and I love progression. That's why I play a video game. I want to be able to go further. That's why the PTR is so hard for me to, jump into, because you lose all that progression. But progression for me is the key, and this game gives me that satisfaction.
And how long did you play Diablo 1, Diablo 2 back in the days?
Never touched Diablo, actually, until Diablo 3. I heard about it, heard it was great, and once Diablo 3 was released, I got it the first day it was released, and I even actually bought a new computer just so I'd be able to, because I had a really old one, and it wouldn't even work on there. It wouldn't even work on the old computer, so I had to get a new one just so I could play the game. And I just love role-playing games, and I played World of Warcraft for like 5 years. I played all these other MMOs and things like that, and action RPG really just took me.
And you stuck with it? I mean, obviously, a lot of people were very eager for Diablo 3, and then I was reminded of this with the whole Bashiok post, kind of reviewing stuff from the past years, and how big an outcry there was, and how many people played the first few months of Diablo 3 and then never came back. They hated the real money auction house. They hit the Inferno gear wall where it was impossible to advance, etc.
I never even hit Inferno. I tried. I think it was Hell I got to, and then I couldn't get past the Skeleton King. I was bad. I didn't play enough to really.
Yeah, I remember that too. The Skeleton King. It was like, damn it.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, that swing. I just could never get. He's that huge swing, and I just would always die, and so. This game just was really fun. Even then, it was still fun to play. Even as I played softcore. I played softcore since the beginning. Monk, always played Monk, but I want to try and explore now that I'm getting into the game even more. I'm going to try and explore, especially the Witch Doctor coming up with this patch.
Well, now that he's finally worth playing, right? Now that he's finally strong solo,
yes.
At least in theory.
Yes. Well, yes.
So same thing for you, David. What do you want to go by online, and what is your history with the series, etc.?
Yeah, I guess I go by Dave the Brave, or Brixer Dave.
Oh, I've seen your forum posts.
Yeah, because I'm totally unoriginal at picking screen names, but it's kind of the same as Dragoonus.
Yep.
I actually played Diablo the first one, like way back in the day, but I remember doing just one playthrough. And at the end, what happens? Like the guy puts the gem in his head or something, and it becomes Diablo. And I thought it was
he becomes the Dark Wanderer.
Yeah, something like that. And I thought, oh, that's dumb, and I never touched it back. So I didn't play Diablo 2, and then I got into Diablo 3 because someone else was playing it on the PlayStation 3, and I got addicted big time. So I almost instantly bought it on the PC. But I think just before Reaper of Souls came out, and I haven't stopped playing since. Like same thing, and this game has me. Can't stop playing it, and they're always adding new stuff. Like that, it's just pretty amazing, and it's crazy that if you try to explain to other people, it's like, well, you kill monsters so that you can get gear to kill more monsters. And, that's what it's like on the surface, but they have such a amazing system behind it. Love this game. And it's actually, I've played video games my whole life, and now I'm like, it's been a year and a half, that's all I've played. And I try to force myself to play other games, and there's other stuff out there, and I just play for 5 minutes, like, I don't know, like Arkham Knight or whatever comes on. I'm like, no. Let's go back to D3.
So, do you take breaks in between seasons? A lot of people only play, or people get busy when they get to be adults and you have jobs and lives and kids and stuff. I know a lot of people who I knew from Diablo 2 days, 10 years ago and stuff, and they pretty much only play Diablo 3 now, or maybe they'll get into some other new game if it's a big hit, but not usually. They just don't have time. But they'll get into each season and play a few weeks or a month or two, and then they kind of drift away from it and go back to real life and just don't play video games. Just don't have time to play video games. And the new season comes out with new content, and they jump back into it for a while. So
I know a couple of guys like that, but I haven't stopped playing. Although I am getting a little antsy right now. Like, I wish they would hurry up and bring the fourth season, because I'm really looking forward to it. And it's kind of weird because it seems that they're, I think you pointed that out a few weeks ago, that now they're aligning the dev cycle with the seasons, and I'm not sure that's the best idea. Because clearly right now, the 2-week heads up is not coming because they're still working on the PTR, and they're still patching things up, which is great, but at the same time, it's like, well, the length of the season season 3 is kind of, artificially inflated because of that. So that's first world problems.
I think a lot of them just had summer vacations. They were really.
Yeah.
You remember how fast season 2 was? It was like too fast.
Yeah. Well, Blur.
It seems like we were like, why wasn't it was like, I think season 1 was season 2 was like 2 weeks into it, and then season 3 was already on the PTR. And it was like, well, shit, I just got started. Now you want me to start testing the PTR? And it had like new features and new sets. I'm like, well, I don't want to play season 2 anymore, and it's got 2.5 months yet to run or something. But
yeah.
I think a lot of them, they kind of rushed and got season 3 up really quickly, and they were like, okay, let's get a little vacation. Or perhaps they were all furiously crunching on the expansion pack, which is not going to be revealed until November at the soonest.
Yeah, revealed November and released December.
Yeah, I don't think Blizzard's ever done like less than 8 months or 10 months between announcement and release. But I mean, what if it was like, we were mentioning earlier, if they wanted to get to the 18-month cycle, they basically need to release it in like October.
Yeah.
Before BlizzCon, which obviously is not going to happen. But I mean, imagine if they ever announced a game at BlizzCon and said, "Hey, it's the next Diablo 3 expansion pack. It's going on sale next week." You'd be like, "What?"
Whoa.
Like, would that actually? I mean, they would get incredible publicity. I mean, we're all used to this many month-long run-up to an expansion, right?
Yep.
Right.
And I can't imagine that would happen. I mean, you remember how long? I mean, just the beta test for Reaper of Souls was like 3 months long. So they're not going to release a whole new expansion pack without a pretty good-sized public beta test, right?
Yeah. And they can't do it any other way, right? I mean, this game is so big.
But what if they did? What if it was like, it's going to be on sale for Christmas, and it's now November 8th. You have 6 weeks until it comes out.
No.
Would that be like just an inferno of publicity, people being so excited that it was coming so soon, or would it be too soon and they couldn't build publicity over time?
I think they'd get the publicity, but then people would be like, "Wait, you're not doing any public testing?" I think people would. I would have
challenge
reaction.
They would challenge him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course, also they have their release cycles are going along. They're not going to put out like a World of Warcraft expansion and a Diablo expansion like a month apart.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of overlap there, and I don't know how much of overlap they have, including with StarCraft. I guess different market. Or when the new Hearthstone expansion comes out, or when Overwatch is scheduled. They don't want to put 2 of their big games out right at the same time, so they've obviously got to do a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, you always worry about your game, right? So you play Heroes of the Storm, or you play Diablo 3 or whatever. It's like, Blizzard, what are you doing for me right now? And you look at all those other games, taking the stage. Okay, Diablo 3, when?
At least they don't, they're not like every other company where they rush games out totally buggy and not. Maybe we can argue Diablo 3 wasn't ready to be released and wasn't finished in terms of itemization and endgame and stuff, but I mean, at least it wasn't buggy, I mean, it was very polished.
I've been trying to convince people that haven't played Diablo 3 since the start that it's gotten so much better. Loot 2.0 that is where people, before that point, people stopped playing, and I'm telling them, like, you need to jump back on this game, especially now.
Yeah. Maybe I'm lucky that I just got started around Reaper of Souls, because I'm not sure I would have. I never tried. Well, I guess the PS3 version was vanilla. I suppose. No, it had the smart loot already.
Yeah, the first console was already smart loot.
Yeah, so
that was kind of where.
Yeah.
That was going to be my analogy earlier about the cash for stash thing. Whereas, the console was like Diablo 3, version 2, right? It already had the smart loot and lots of changes to drops and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that they didn't force people to start playing, the older version of the game on the console. They had a really upgraded, improved version. And then, of course, the Ultimate Evil Edition didn't require the other game as an expansion pack. It was, PS4 and Xbox 360. It was immediately already Reaper of Souls with adventure mode and everything else. No more grinding through 3-4 different difficulty levels. God forbid. Hard to remember the old days.
Oh, yeah, and they had monster,
and then Nightmare, and then
levels.
Hell, and then Inferno.
Oh, monster level. Oh, geez.
And they had monster difficulty,
power,
monster level, monster power. Yeah, whatever it was called. It was just why me?
So I can see them launching a new version and just changing all the rules with it, saying, here's a new game. You don't have to buy the previous versions of it to get into it, and it's.
Well,
I think that's how they could kind of launch a free-to-play version alongside what we already have.
Exactly. I think that would be the only way to change the business model. Make it subscription-based or freemium or what have you. But I don't think they can do that unless they cut it Diablo 4. So who knows? Maybe that's what they're doing. And better progression. Like you don't just get random stuff. You can get more as what you want, but you can work on it or something as opposed to what we were talking about earlier. Always having a little bit of progress towards what you're working on instead of I just got an ancient. Even with a smart loot, like sometimes you get ancient stuff for other classes, and it's like what.
I had a point I was going to make up about. The interesting thing with they just put that video out for Kanai's Cube, with the lore and the story and stuff, and there were like artists and designers in that, like story guys. We haven't heard anything about any story guys in 18 months, and that's obviously if there's all we ever see are like item designers and character balancers, Wyatt Chang and Travis and John Yang and stuff.
All the guys at the front. I think you see them out and about.
To make Diablo 3 or to make Reaper of Souls, you have this huge team of people doing, all the dialogue and all the new monster designs and all the art and all the new level designs and just, the patches have a lot of content. There's a little bit of programming involved in Kanai's Cube or something, but they don't really add graphics. They had a little bit of, obviously got Ruins of Sescheron with some new graphics, but it's pretty much all the same monster types.
Just
it's
new
familiar
skins.
monsters.
Except for one.
Oh yeah.
Isn't everything? I think everything just reskinned though, right? I mean, the Yeti's got a different skin, but it's the same monster.
Is it? I was
Except
fooled.
for the rolling snowballs. They got the rolling snowballs or something.
Yeah, he's got a new move.
Yeah.
And one of the Thornbacks shoots like 20 little thorns at you at once, like Arcane Torrent, which is cool looking.
Yeah.
But when we got the Kanai's Cube thing, suddenly we had story guys talking about how this relates to the larger story of the world. And there's a little bit of story involved in it, and you can save Abdul Harazi, whatever his name is.
Yep.
He's back in it. A little bit of writing, and we've just been saying forever, if they do another expansion, obviously they've got all these artists and these story guys and writers and dialogue people who we used to see at BlizzCon every year, before the first game in their expansion, who have not been seen in 18 months in public. And either they've all quit the team and they're working on World of Warcraft or something, or they're grinding away on an expansion pack that they're not telling us anything about yet.
Yeah.
And possibly both. But it was nice to see some lore people and some non-programmer, game designer
new
people
faces
about Diablo 3 again.
Yeah.
Well, they were old faces, but we hadn't seen them in so long,
Yes, yeah.
So maybe those people out there are still grinding away. And that was the other question we had forever ago. When is the last time either of you guys played story mode, and why do we all care if if the next expansion is Act 6, is it a whole new story? Is it all the NPC dialogues, or do you just want new tile sets and new items, and it's like a DLC, like a half patch?
Yeah, the second one.
To get on the PTR or to actually get in through the queue. That's the last time I played story mode.
Yeah, so everybody talks about it like we all expect it's going to be a full-on Act 6 and a whole continuing the story progression, etc. Right? But nobody plays story mode, so why do we care?
No.
I don't know. I mean, they know better, right? I mean, maybe there are people out there.
There are certainly lore guys. Yeah, there are lots of people who love the lore of this game. But you don't hear from them. I don't hear I don't hear them speak up all so much. This game is all about killing those demons, get the best gear. At least that's how I look at it.
Yeah, exactly. But
do you want a full expansion, an Act 6, everything, or would you just be happier with like a big patch and it's got a lot of new tile sets for rifts or whatever?
Yeah, tile sets, more legendaries, or at least as they've been doing, implement more legendaries with more legendary properties. With more legendary properties means more customization to be able to put in Kanai's cube, create more experimentation. I think it would make a lot more. Right now, it still feels like it could be cookie cutter. There are little variances, but I think overall in the long run, with more PTR releases, they'll be able to get more gear in there and be able to start, trying to create your own little niche of a character.
Yeah. And I think maybe the Kanai's cube is their foot in the door doing that, because like we're all talking about the the 3 slots of the weapon, the armor, and the ring, but there's other recipes, and they could put in other recipes to do other stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like what about I have I'm rolling, I don't know, whatever, 5% cooldown, and instead of clicking at the what's her name?
Enchantress, yes.
So instead of doing that, what if you could you start at 10% bonus damage for your skill or elemental damage, and then you improve it by finding something. That's another recipe in the cube, as opposed to rewriting something completely random. Stuff like that. I would hope that what they have in the cube right now, that's just the beginning.
Right, there's potential there. There's a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And the other thing that, well, of course, the problem there is how do you charge, we're talking about the financial issues before. If you just put out a big expansion pack, a big patch, and call it an expansion pack, and you charge $40 for it, people don't buy it, or else they rage when they do.
You think so?
So that's why you put lots of content and a new act and stuff. Otherwise, you can't charge full price.
Yeah, it's just kind of basing it's giving you a reason to be able to charge money, because right now they've been giving out content for free, and if they give the same content, but they charge for it, there will be some hell they'll get.
It's a catch-22, right? Because if you make people pay for it, it makes sense, because how do you want us to keep maintaining this game? We need money, but at the same time they need to put out those patches, because they can then justify, say, well, look, we do use your money for something. We put on an expansion, and then we're going to support it for the next 2 years. But it's finding the right balance between those two, I guess. But yeah, I don't think they could charge $40 for patch 2.3. No.
And we're kind of surprised they haven't been charging $5 for every patch as they've gone. You can play the normal version is free, but if you want to be in the new patch and all this new content, it's a DLC. But they don't have that model in the game now. So
Right.
I would have paid for it.
The other big thing with a whole expansion is you can do major game changes. You can put in huge thing. If you want to rework the entire stat system or something, or put skill points back in, or do some other major, sweeping change. That's what they do in World of Warcraft. You add whole talent trees, and you add whole revisions to patches and make quests work differently or whatever.
New character class.
You can't really put that in a patch, because people are outraged and you've broken their game. But you make it a whole new game that's optional to purchase or not, and they can still. There are some people that there are occasionally, I see forum posts, people who just still play Diablo 3 vanilla. I can't imagine how they do that, but at least they have, Loot 2.0 did go into Diablo 3 eventually, right before Reaper of Souls launched. So at least you're not finding quivers with intelligence on them anymore, right?
Oh my gosh.
But can you imagine playing without adventure mode and without rifts and without? I just I can't.
Yeah,
they still support it though. That is pretty amazing, and maybe that's the reason that they might want to invoke for making a new game as opposed to an expansion. It's look, if we put on an expansion, then we have to support. We still have to support people who only bought Reaper of Souls or who only bought Diablo 3, and that makes your product, with every step in that direction, that makes your product more complicated. So, why not, go back to use the code base or whatever, but just, make something new, and you don't need anything else but call it Diablo 4.
Well, they've got 6 expansions for WoW right now, and they've got to support people at every different level of that. I'm sure there's somebody who's just playing Cataclysm, only.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're 10 levels below max level and whatever. I mean, there are people who have stopped. Maybe someone's just playing. Like I don't even know what the ones were. 3 or 4. Burning Crusade or something still.
They're playing.
And they can't. I mean, I don't even know how you can party. Everyone else is 20 levels higher than you. I have no idea how that works.
Yeah.
If they can do it for WoW, they could do it for Diablo 3. But it's just a pain in the ass, I imagine.
I can imagine that you only get matched with people in the same situation, right? If you're still playing Diablo 3 vanilla.
And there's like 7 of you in the entire North American server.
Yes.
It's like, hey, we're all on Burning Crusade together. Let's go to this one boring thing
dungeon
again.
that everyone's
What
finished.
do?
They can all
Like there's people in Diablo 3 that are still doing like Al-Khazir runs.
Oh my!
They're like, hey, Act 3 again. Let's go kill some scorpions. Like, oh my god,
No
kill
thanks.
me.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I'm pretty anxious to see what they come up with. Like, and I'm really curious that was it Wyatt Chang that mentioned 2.4. So at least we know that a 2.4 patch is coming, and it's probably not going to be an expansion. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're churning along. It's unclear what'll be. When they do 2.2, they made we had the 3 new class sets.
Yeah.
And obviously, they said right away, we're going to make it. The next patch will have Witch Doctor, Crusader, and Monk sets. So we knew that was coming all along, but we don't have any really hints of what's going to be in the patch after this one.
Yeah. I
mean, they've kind of got all the classes are kind of evened up on things in terms of at least number of Zets. And I'm sure some Crusaders are screaming about the Invoker set right now, but tough titty, said Mama Kitty, right? But generally speaking, it's kind of caught up. We want more legendaries, but there's no real obvious sense of here's what they need to add to make something else. Every class has got multiple sets, multiple in-game builds. Maybe they're not all perfectly balanced, but there's not just one build to go to GR40 like there was in the old days, right?
Right.
So it doesn't seem like there's that much crying out for major fixes or major buffs, but in theory, if the season ends in August, they said the season. They did say the season is going to end in August. Still, they're on pace for that.
Oh, okay.
At least,
and the new patch will come out, around that time.
At least they've spread the wealth. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but then in theory, it'll be 3 months or 4 months for season 4, and so we won't see the PTR for the next one until November. I mean, assuming they keep on the same schedule,
right?
Which would, interestingly enough, be about the time the BlizzCon occurs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't have anything. So we were thinking months and months ago, when they said 4 months for Season 3, that would end just about the time that Gamescom was going, and they might be wanting to announce new stuff. Instead of just announcing what we're getting now in the PTR, they would have waited and done a big announcement at Gamescom about the expansion, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we were right. We were just one patch cycle ahead of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One can hope.
Fun to pretend, isn't it?
Yeah, we can hope.
I mean, I agree that I don't see how they could justify an expansion without like a new act and all that stuff. But
new act, the class, new.
Yeah.
Especially.
But right
class.
now the game is pretty amazing as is. Even if they're going to keep adding a set or two. But on the other hand, I could give you a mile long list of stuff they could do to improve like the quality of life. Like that game is so old school in certain ways. Like I don't know, like the Tetris inventory just drives me nuts. And that you have to, switch between your stash and your inventory to do this and that. And it's just they could make that a lot better. But as far as content itself and the system itself, it's great where it's at. Like they could stop right now and say, well, that's what we're gonna get, and I'd keep playing for a while. I think.
Don't tell them that.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I do want more. Don't, but I don't. But I think it's sitting pretty good right now.
Okay, as I always say on the podcast, obviously you guys' checks have cleared. I'm not sure how Blizzard was already giving you bribes before they knew you were going to be on the podcast, but apparently they planned ahead. You're both actually located in Irvine right now, right? You're actually in the offices, and you're just pretending to be fans. You're planned.
No, actually, you know what? Though I'm in Wisconsin, but I do fly down to Irvine like every couple of months or so for work. Yeah, the Kanai's cube that's pretty huge. Yeah.
Have you found any other builds? I mean, we had all this, when they first announced it, there was all this theory crafting, and like, oh, we're doing amazing things, and then once it came out, it was like RoRG and the Furnace,
right,
and maybe like Cindercoat,
Yep. No, yeah, it was all, and I wanted to really try out that new set, that Uliana's Monk set, and my God, it feels powerful. I mean, just being able to use 7-sided strike, I mean, you feel, I couldn't even push so far because then they wiped everything. so I couldn't even push as far as I wanted to. I didn't even get the full set, but just getting the 4-piece where it made every hit of your 7-sided strike do its full damage. I mean, that was immense.
Yeah, I've played a monk until recently, and I switched. I'm playing a demon hunter right now. But yeah, the exploding palm, like that's my favorite thing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so fun to play, and the little I played, I didn't have time to get a new set. But now I'm like, what do I want to do when Season 4 actually starts? I was thinking of the Crusader or the Monk. It's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, the Witch Doctor is definitely something I was looking into because now, I was, all these changes and things for their class. I really like the concept of a Witch Doctor, but they were always, they were not the strongest of all, and I thought they were very fun to. I thought the idea of them was very fun. It's just they needed more, and I think this patch is what is going to make me try a Witch Doctor for Season 4.
Right. It seems they're always lagging, like 5 levels of Greater Rift behind everyone, and that kind of gives them that bad, quote-unquote, reputation.
Yeah.
But it's fun to play with them. I mean, you go in a group and there's a Witch Doctor, and there he or she goes, grounding everything, and you just go boom, boom, boom. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and they have, they've nerfed the infinite CC a little bit in this patch, but for a while, Witch Doctors had like the most crowd control,
right?
Yeah.
And you could also put all the experience gear on, so. Monks and Witch Doctors were just ridiculously EXP powerful, and Crusaders even.
And I like that they did that.
They weren't so great solo, but in a party they were fantastic.
Yeah, I like that they did the maximum Paragon, or minimum Paragon for joining certain Greater Rift 6, Greater Rift 7, or excuse me, Torment 6, Torment 7. I really like that they did that. I mean, it's the leveling part almost just seems like a formality, leveling to 70. I mean, maybe it'll be fixed or something will be done different in the future. I like the way it feels how you level, though, because I started to level a Season 4 character after, like, last week. I started redoing a Season 4 character, and just creating a weapon, it feels a lot better and less clunkier. Like, you're able to just go from, 1 to 20. It takes a little time, but you actually feel like you're gaining something because you get gems that you can use in the future, all the materials you can use in the future. It's not pointless. You don't just drop it or sell it.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about the limitation of Paragon levels for the high torment, because it's not bad, but people have figured out that stuff on their own, right? I remember way back, like I remember being thrown out of a public game, because everybody was like 600 or whatever, and I was like 200 something, and like, sorry dude, bye.
Yeah.
And so people kind of, do that on their own anyway.
Fair point.
Yeah. And I don't mind, like, if
you get it, yeah.
Yeah, if like I'm, 725, 6 something now? And there's, especially right now, like, people are on the live, not on the season, but in the live servers, everybody's jumping in, seems like, to, I don't know, do what I do, I guess, which is farm for Death Breath and get rid of your regular Rift keys, because they're going to be useless after the patch. Mm-hmm. And there's tons of like 150, 200 Paragon characters in Torment 6, and that's fine, It's just farming, who cares?
Right.
Benefit of playing hardcore. None of this even ever exists in hardcore.
Yeah.
You're not going to see Paragon 27 jumping into T7 in hardcore,
Right.
Yeah, you are right about that.
Not in a public game.
Yeah. I never really play a lot of public games. I always play solo, so the whole nerf where they stopped, or they really lowered the amount of CC that when you're playing a 4-player game. I understand it. I never even experienced a game. I never play with more than maybe one person at a time, another person, and that's very rare. So.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just sometimes I know this game is all about playing with other people usually, but I love the solo play of it.
Yeah, when I started playing it, which was about a year and a half ago, I did the same thing. Like, because I don't like people, so I just play on my own. But at some point I was like, okay, I just gotta jump in. And the boost that you get is just so great that I never look back. Like, I'm not in a clan or anything. I've tried to get into clans, but it seems people are not as available as they say they are. So it's jumping to public games, and it's good enough for me. But yeah, it's so much fun. But I have gone back to solo recently to try to best my best Greater Rift, I guess. So
it's a good gauge.
Yeah.
So you guys are planning on Season 4, just more of the same? You know, you got some cube plans in advance?
A little bit. I'll say I've never wanted to do a PTR up until this PTR. Before, I always wanted to be surprised by whatever would come about. You know, I'd still check news and things like that, but, you know, I still like that sense of discovery, of trying to find something that I could do that maybe I felt like I discovered that build, or, you know, I did this or that. Because when what was it, patch 2, it was 2.2. Yeah, 2.2, I thought about going on PTR, and I was like, I'm going to hold off. And this one, I really wanted to be able to experience. Season 3 got boring quick, and I think that,
yeah.
I think 4 months, you know, it's been going on where they're trying to figure out what length of a season they're going to do in 4 months.
And they haven't even sent out the 2 weeks.
Oh, right, 2 week notice.
Heads up, right?
Yeah.
Yet, which is surprising. But yeah, I agree. It's way too long. But I kind of
everyone said Season 2 was too short at 2.5 months or whatever it was. So they said, hey, we'll do at least 4 months, and after 2 months, everyone's like, okay, we're bored.
Well, we just got to do. Well, we got to do. Like you said, do a real season, 3 months. I think
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
They don't have seasons. They live in Southern
California.
California.
I know. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
They don't know how long seasons are.
Fine, we'll call them quarters. They know quarters.
But yeah,
we also there was going to be some tie-in to Gamescom, you know, with the expansion pack coming out, and now that they've said that's not going to happen, so at least not at Gamescom.
Right.
So now the season goes until they get bored of it being August, I guess.
Well, I'm crossing my fingers that that BlizzCon will be good for an expansion. I think they're obviously showing an interest in the game if they're implementing this Kanai's cube. I mean, that takes a lot to be. I feel I'm not a programmer or anything, but I mean, I can't imagine the amount of program that would take for their team to be able to implement something like that, unless there's something more coming in the future.
Yeah, Diablo 3, if nothing else, is like an amazing piece of software. Like, the complexity behind it is just mind-blowing, and it's pretty stable. You know, can't remember the last time it's crashed on me ever. But yeah, you're right. I mean, all those features, like, I can't imagine. But Flux, you were asking about like plans for Season 4. I'm actually possibly considering playing a hardcore character, which I've never done. I've never even created one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But
you're in for a shock. Yeah, you're in for a shock.
I just died last night on the PTR for the hardcore I was playing.
Oh, wow.
I was pushing into T8 a little too soon, and I tried to do Malthael real quick.
Yeah.
Malthael's dangerous.
Oh, my
you forget
God,
that part.
I know. Jeez, he's so... But, you know, it makes it fun. Hardcore, I'm sure, not fun. Like, that's probably not fun. Even, what's her... Adria in the fifth act. Ugh, that's pain in the ass with those blobs all going around and shit.
Right.
Yeah, Malthael, you make one little mistake with that giant wings.
The giant wings of flame.
Around.
Yep.
And it's like I did one mistake and I procced and I was like, uh-oh. And, you know, he saw like 85% hit points. And I was like, uh-oh, you know, I should have, if I was playing for real, I just had him involved. You know, if I had on Smokescreen, I would have had no problem.
So you take more risks on the PTR?
Well, yeah, I was playing really fast. I mean, I had one legend. I was like P180. You know, with the triple experience, it was only like a 2-day-old character.
Oh, this is your season character. I was gonna say, I was like, oh, this is just a character creation or a character copy.
Yeah, it was just Season 4 on the PTR.
Oh, okay. I thought it was gonna be a character copy. I was like, oh, well, you can just copy back over and you'll be able to go right back in there. So, but
yeah, character copy. I'm like P800. Yeah. So I mean, it's just effort. So, I mean, T10 is too easy. It's no fun. So I was doing Season 4, just trying new stuff.
Right. And
pushing up, and I just gotten a 6-piece. You know, I had nothing ancient, not even an ancient weapon. You know, just kind of fooling around. I think I had one legendary gem to 25 and one other like 6. It's weird on the PTR now. You don't want to do legendary gems because you can get so many more legendaries just doing rifts.
Yeah, and
it's such a waste of time to go do greater rifts now.
Yep.
5 minutes for 6 legendaries. Like really, I can get that in 10 seconds.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing. And also, that's another thing that gems are. I mean, there are useless gems. There are gems that at least the way. I mean, when you hear us talk. You hear the
and those
same.
Are the first 10 you find now. It's amazing how long it's been.
Yeah, right. God, but at least it keeps you playing. That's what they want. They want you to stay in the game. They want you to be in the game for however long you're able to stay in the game. They want you there. They want you to play all the content. And
I'm curious to see how the gem leveling is gonna work starting with the new patch, because you can't just brute force your way. In a grift and just finish it in 45 minutes or whatever and get a chance at.
Well, you can, but you won't get any rewards.
Right.
You
don't get to upgrade your gem anymore. And it's I'm stuck anyway. Like my highest is 55, but you look at the high level streamers, it's crazy. They're up to level 80, 85, something in the bin. I'm just Jesus.
They've got the 1% chance that'll even.
And they do that 1% runs.
Yeah, it's also weird now if you finish in 1502 and then you just get nothing. Urshi just shows up and says hi.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And there's you can't do anything. You can't upgrade your grift key. It's like you got to the party late and everyone's already left.
Yeah, thumbs up. Good job. You fucked up.
They should drop you a blood shard or something. I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Just like that potions guy, that old one that he would just drop a potion. Now he doesn't drop anything.
It's just, I think they need to do something with it. It just feels strange when you get there and she just appears and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what she could do. I guess, give you another greater rift key maybe or something, but...
I feel like Diablo 3 has this, all or nothing reward system, right? Either you get something or you don't. But they could do something if you finish, even if you don't finish in time, you get, 3 of material X, blah, 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 and then 10 or 15 of that material gives you a chance at upgrading the gem. So even if you fail, every time you play, you'd feel like you'd get a little something.
Right, a reward for your time. You just spend 15 minutes, especially if you're playing, if you're just playing a regular character, not hardcore, and you die, and that death counter is up to 30. Oh God, that death counter.
That's the worst. That's the.
Not that Flux. I know that you don't care about that at all, but.
Yeah, you never.
Well, I'm playing softcore now on the PTR. I haven't actually died yet though, and I'm working on that.
Yeah, the greater death counter is absurd. And I think I liked. There was an idea, I can't remember who said it before on your podcast, where it was just subtract it off of the end, so the so at first it'll be 14 minutes 55 seconds, and so at least you feel like you're continuing to play.
Yeah, because right now it feels like a timeout, like you've been bad. Go sit in a corner.
Well, you have been bad. That's called a death penalty.
Yeah.
What happens when you die? Bad things.
Bad.
You get punished for it.
Right, but
And 5,000 gold repair costs too. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, I know. At first I thought that was a cool thing. When the PTR, I didn't know that was a bug. I was like, oh wow, they're really putting a gold sink in this, huh?
Yeah, I thought so too. I didn't think it was a bug. I thought, oh, finally they made the.
They're making it a little less, make it hurt a little more when you die or going through.
Nope.
Yeah, and they fixed it now. Repair costs are like 4,000 again.
Yeah.
It's just completely irrelevant.
Yep.
Yeah, I was doing an article in the wiki about gold sinks. I mentioned something on some article. I'm like, wait, we don't have any gold sinks, We have a Death's Breath sink.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we have now.
Yeah, that.
There's a shard sink, but
there's.
it's especially now on the PTR. Obviously, when you're getting double goblins, you get a pair of gilded barons and you're pretty much set.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But then also now you can do every time you find a puzzle ring, you get to go to the vault.
Yeah.
And with double goblins, you find the vault a lot more. You can be like Paragon 60 and have 150 million gold right now. It's just crazy how fast the gold stacks up.
Yep. And then you don't.
And then you're all out of material.
Yep.
And all you care about are Death Breaths.
Maybe
you would pay 10 million apiece for Death Breaths very quickly.
Yeah, I was gonna say even for the act crafting materials, finding a way to be able to maybe to put money into that. Expensive, but being able to sink it into that. I don't know how they'd feel about that, but.
They've been asking the community, because people complain about that, and they're like, well, what would you like as a gold sink / gem because who doesn't have like 2,000 of each gem?
Oh, yeah.
2, and they keep asking, but I don't know. I don't know if they have plans like that recipe to change the type of the gem. Like, who cares about that? Like, what point does it have in the current game?
Are you talking about when you're changing like a diamond to a
right
or an emerald or whatever they are?
Yeah. Like,
Well, the start of the season, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I've been doing that nonstop on the PTR.
When you start, I guess. Okay.
When you're gearing up, when you're gearing up, you either get a broken crown or that or both.
And plus I play one. I play one, maybe 2 classes, and that's about it. And so really, if I always try and get for the greens, really, I always just go for dexterity. So.
Well, see, with the broken crown, it doesn't matter what you find now because you can convert the gems.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing with a ruby in my helm for experience, and I would just kept racking up rubies from the broken crown, and then I would convert them into cube and emeralds.
Good point. Yeah.
So you don't, currently you have to waste your time. If you want emeralds, you got to have, oh boy, gold find in my helm, awesome.
It wasn't that
just to get more gems.
Did they fix that bug about where it was like you were double dipping into the double?
The broken crown.
Yeah, the broken crown does work in the cube now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can't double dip anymore. That was fixed in this patch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just read into.
I mean, they do fix things usually.
Right.
There are some issues.
It didn't go into the live
server.
Ugh.
Well, that's the point of the PTR, right?
Yeah.
If it all works perfectly, then it would already be on the live server.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for that 2 weeks just so I'd be able to take off work for that weekend.
So you guys haven't done enough PTR to judge rift speeds. I've been kind of debating that with people in the clan lately. If you saw the news post a couple days ago, suddenly, like when you're finishing rifts at like 84% and the Guardian spawns.
Oh yeah, I've
because they adjusted the speed, but the display doesn't match on your timer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
On the progress bar, it doesn't match up. So you'll finish the rift at like 91% when the Guardian's dead. And it's like, okay, that's cool.
Well, I've seen that a lot in general chat because I had gotten on there Monday evening and Tuesday evening, but only for like an hour or two, and I was leveling my Season 4 character, and they had, and I just kept seeing, they were like, how did I get a greater rift at 84% or whatever it was, and they kept talking in general chat about it. I was just playing along, didn't really think anything of it. Obviously the PTR, they're going to fix it, but, it certainly is. I'm sure it's very confusing because I know it's probably happened to you, and I can't imagine it's just as they spawn, and then if the Rift Guardian spawns at 84%, is it going to be? Are there monsters still around?
Well, it's in a regular Rift.
Oh,
yes.
in a regular Rift, yes. But I thought you were talking about in the greater Rift.
The only problem is the display. I mean, they tweak the experience values, the progress values you get, so you get a little faster, which is good because it feels a little slow before.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to get about 82 or 84% of what you used to need to get to finish a Rift, and they just didn't adjust it to the actual progress bar display thing.
Gotcha now. Yeah.
So have they changed the speed since they started the PTR? Because I remember doing a few grips, and I was like, so the
you need about 82% of what you used to need. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting the timer filled is definitely slower, but the Guardian's hit points have been dramatically reduced, so you would just dispose of the Guardian in maybe 20% of the time that it used to take you.
Yeah, they buffed Guardians a little bit hit points in the most recent patch. It was pointless at the start. I mean, it was nice if you were like a WW Barb and you're used to spending 10 minutes circling the Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I was doing the first games on the PTR. I was just doing some T10 with my Natalia's DH, and I was literally one-shotting Guardians on T10.
Yeah, it was fun.
Or two-shotting, which is just it's 7-8 minutes for the Rift and then 15 seconds for the Guardian to seem like why have a Guardian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I took longer to kill some regular random elites than I did to kill Guardians.
Yeah,
they go back and forth, they put it one way and then put it back. How does it feel right now?
I haven't done any real high-level stuff in Season 4. I've only been up to T8 and GR37, so at that point it's kind of hard to tell, but it's still kind of what it was. The Guardians are weaker. They did tweak a lot of the experience values for the monsters, so all the really slow meat sack stuff is worth less. It used to be zombies and cuddle bears and stuff would fill you up really fast. And then all the annoying stuff. And we had a whole debate about that months ago on a big article about that with arachnords, Arrakis, what the hell those chargy guys are in Act 5, the Leapers, and then, angels, and Lacuni Leapers, all that kind of stuff was all worth way too little EXP because they took longer to kill.
Yeah.
So they've buffed all those, and it does feel a little more, across the board. It feels a little better, I think.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to tell when you do a whole rift and you kill like 10,000 monsters, you know?
Well, I had that ring.
You get a wide variety of stuff, right? So
I had that ring, that Fallen Lord ring or whatever, that, summons like however many of those little demons that'll explode. And I went up to a Rift Guardian, and it was when I was leveling, all of a sudden Rift Guardian just dead. I mean, he just killed in one hit. I had no idea what the hell happened. I was like, I know I'm not that strong.
yeah, the whole point in leveling up on the PTR is just waiting for your Naglering to proc.
Thank you. That was already, yes.
Every boss fight.
Yep.
Every boss fight, you're pushing a little above your level. You're on T2 and you're level 40 or something, and you're like, grindy, and just, okay, it's been 13 seconds yet? Boom, one big purple explosion and you win.
Yep.
Yeah, that ring is just absurdly overpowered for leveling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even change it out. I just leave it.
Yeah, we're like a level 10 one the whole way to 70, and it's still worth it. That's not a problem now with the super buff. You find so many legendaries currently this weekend, but I mean, like I was like level 50, and I was doing like 100k crits or something, maybe less, and I was getting 25 million from my Naglering explosions.
So
wow.
I mean, it was literally like 250 times the damage of my regular attack.
They had the PTR. They had the buff up this weekend.
Yeah, it came again Friday, so it's been queues and it's been ridiculous leveling speed.
Mm.
But you just gear up so fast. I had a softcore DH at 22 in Season 4 that I had just played a little bit when there was a big queue last week. And after my hardcore died yesterday, I started playing that one a little bit, just for fun. I dipped in a friend's game who was on T8, and in 15 minutes I was like Paragon 20. I went from like level 20 to Paragon 20 in a rift and a half.
Yeah.
Like 3.5 levels of a rift. And I had already had a 6-piece UE set just from running behind and picking up the scraps.
So people reach like Paragon 1500, whatever, in Season 3. Like, what's it going to be in Season 4?
I believe 1740 is about the highest right now.
Yeah. Because apparently it's faster every season, right? Like, it seems like that you level up faster and faster and faster every season.
And wait for the next season when we really get power creep. Yeah, the guy who just recently got to P2000, the first guy ever.
Yeah.
If the season was over, he'd be P2000. He had, I think it was like 1740 in Season 3, and he was like 1340 overall other than that. Yeah. So he had done more than double the experience in Season 3 that he'd done entirely, all together before that, combined. Because Season 3, you can get so much more experience so much more quickly. And Season 4, it only increases that further, so...
Right.
Yeah, it's they just that they designed a system that can go on basically ad infinitum, but they haven't really thought of what would happen if you actually go that far. People, even Gabinator was like, no, they should cap the Paragon in seasons. It's sort of ridiculous. But
what's an extra 5? What's an extra 5? Plus 5 dexterity per level or whatever main stat. I mean, eventually it becomes one piece of gear after a while, but...
Right.
Well, yeah, except when you have 1700.
Well, when you have, that is an immense
You've got 5,000 more
Jesus,
main stat
man.
because of your Paragon levels.
I mean, that's another 4 pieces of gear.
5,000, yeah. Well,
he said 5,000. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
5,000. That's it's like 17 extra sockets in your armor, basically. Something like that. Yeah, I think that, we had a news post about this last week, but this is basically the argument. I think Blizzard was thinking people will get to like P, 850, 900, and maybe 1,000 at some point.
Yeah.
It won't be a big deal. And now people are like, Paragon 2,000 and 1,500 just in the seasons. And, what seemed almost irrelevant, just 5 more stat points per level becomes the difference between being able to do like GR52 and GR60.
Right. Which is weird, though, because it's diminishing returns, right? Like, every time you add 5 points, you add a little bit less than you did last time, right? Like 5...
Percentage-wise, yeah.
But it's still, like, so much. I'm curious to see how the pieces are going to fall, though, because, like, you don't need to farm for keys anymore. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need to do anymore, and that... I'm wondering if that's going to slow down the race to the Paragon leveling a little bit, because now you can just say, well, I want to do, level 48 or level 50. I don't have to grind, I don't know how many hours for those keys.
Well, you got to get your Greater Rift keys, but you can they quite often drop 2 at a time if you're on T9 or T10.
Yeah.
And even
so people are going to be doing T10 rifts in 3 minutes and getting 2 keys quite often, and then you can just instantly do. It used to be there was like a timer on doing how much Greater Rifts you could do, because you had to waste like a minute and a half in the wave of trials, every time.
Yeah.
Like, you had to kind of factor that in, you know? So, okay, I can do this in 3.5 minutes, but then I gotta waste a minute to get the key, and then I gotta wait for the stupid timer in town, etc.
Yeah.
So it's like they've cut the time to greater rifts by like 50% just by eliminating Wave of Trials and all the dead time, the cooldown in between them.
Yeah,
So
Wave of Trials is being gone. Oh, that's big. I've already forgotten about Wave of Trials because I was just playing PTR only. I had already forgotten about that.
Why don't they cut it hard mode and make it a thing?
Oh yeah, just make
like a tower defense thing.
Yeah.
Or
like see how far
that's
you
what Wave
can
of Trials
go.
was, and nobody liked it. So.
Have its own leaderboards.
with more of a
didn't like
reward.
it because it was like a sort of like you have to go through it, you know, in order to do what you want to do. But what if it's something that you don't have to do, that you can just do for fun? You know, I'm because people were actually or still are creating builds, you know, just for farming keys. So now that's not happening anymore. But it's, I don't know. I would do that for a Blizzard. It's like, here, click here, hard mode, see how far you can go.
They seem to be very resistant about making any major changes to the game mode. You know, you get horde mode with cursed chests for 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
But they don't want to make a big PvP thing that's different. They don't want to make, you know, horde. They don't want to make tower defense. They don't want to make endless dungeons. They just want kind of short randomized things. We were saying, you know, can we just get deeper dungeons forever? The monsters keep going up in difficulty, and you see how far you can go. That's been a request since like the day the game launched, or probably before then. And Blizzard's like, well, we'll give you something sort of like that with randomized content, but we will never ever give you what you actually want. and no modding either.
No modding. Yeah, that, and I'm sure eventually that at some point maybe they could do modding. Well, if they take the servers offline.
Well, if they get to a point where they're not going to put any more expansion packs out, and it's been 5 years since the last one, then they're like, okay, we don't care if people can pirate this game now, so you can go offline mode.
So, it is certainly going to be a lot better of a game in this patch, and I will be playing a lot more of it. Taking off work.
Well, that's the only option. You must play more.
Yeah, that's what they want.
So, did you guys have any thoughts about Bashiok's departure? Have you been following the community long enough since before pre-launch, and did you know the community managers over time, and do you miss Bashiok? Do you care? Or is it totally irrelevant to you?
Totally irrelevant. I don't even, honestly, that name, I've heard it before, didn't know who it was. I still don't know who it is. I mean, I know you just said it, but...
So you started following Diablo 3 like when Reaper Souls came out, or what?
Oh, no,
before?
I just never was really that... I wasn't a big... I started playing upon release. I just wasn't that big into the community until about around Reaper Souls.
Yeah, same here. But I did read the article that you linked to, and like that line that he took so much crap for, I think it was just a throwaway line, like, don't you feel lucky or something.
Well, that was him, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't even really following the game that closely beforehand, or, I mean, obviously Bashiok was around from, like, 2009 to 2011 was his sort of heyday. And that was, you know, a year before the game even came out, so...
But it's interesting now because if you follow Nevelistis or anyone on the forums, like you're right, like all the CMs now are like overly cheery and positive and like, oh, thank you everyone for the great feedback. Can't get enough.
Yeah, every post, you know, thanks for your feedback or keep testing.
Yeah.
We really appreciate the constructive discussion. Yeah, it's fun.
And they seem fairly sincere. I mean, I've talked to them all in person for a fair amount of time, at Blizzard or at BlizzCons and stuff. And they're not like, you know, if Bashiok was doing that, it would be like, you could totally tell he was like gritting his teeth every minute of it. Because he's just sort of a cynical, sarcastic guy, you know? Like, if I was doing that as a CM, people would be like, Flux, you are so full of shit. I'd be like, thanks for the great feedback. We've only talked about this idea 57 times already this year. Yeah. Oh, wait, sorry.
Sorry, delete. No, wait. Yeah, whatever, just leave it.
And I think Nevelistis actually might be that way. She really is like super cheerful in person.
She seems that way.
A little more. Yeah, Lyleria is a little more cynical. Lyleria is like blonde and fairly pretty and has big boobs, and so I think she's had a whole life of like. You have to learn how to be sarcastic as a woman if you look like that, right? Because you've had your whole life of guys hitting on you nonstop, and you have to kind of develop a
defense
dual persona, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the new one, you know, Tyvalir was Water Fiend on our site for a year. You know, I mean, I got him into this in the first place.
I did not.
And so I am with him pretty often. And he, you know, he's like, yeah, we kind of have to do it this way. And you know, I've talked to him before when he first took the job and stuff. And I'm like, so you got to be all cheerful all the time now. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. But he won't, he's not like, oh, I hate this and it's bullshit and they'll fire me if I don't do it. It's just sort of, if you work in a public service, you have to, be nice to the public, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You say thanks for your business, come again. Meanwhile, you're spitting in their hamburger. But
Well, at least they all seem to be enjoying the game. Like whenever they do tavern, not the tavern talk. What's the other one?
Play your way.
Yes. Yeah. Like when Evaristis is playing, or any other people from the team. Like they all seems like all people who work on Diablo 3 enjoy Diablo 3, which is nice. Even if you feel like they're kind of like putting a big force smile on their face.
Well, it's the best action RPG out there, at least the way I feel. I mean, I've tried other action RPGs, and I love Diablo 3 is by far the best one.
Yeah, I downloaded Path of Exile, and I don't know. Maybe if I get tired of Diablo 3 one day, I'll get more into it, but it seems just, I don't know, a little too old school for me, maybe. Did you play it?
yeah, we had that whole debate with Diablo 3 going in, where everything is easily respec'd. There's no skill points, there's no stat points you can really assign aside from Paragon points, etc. Right?
Yeah.
And then Path of Exile is much more old school. Skill trees, not easy instant respect.
Lots of planning.
Yeah, you got to really plan it out, and you make a character, and that's kind of the build they are. And obviously it's more it's very much Diablo 2, Diablo 1, and its mechanics. And of course, Blizzard kept saying that people can't play that way anymore, and people like it to be easier and quicker changing, and obviously it's much more casual friendly and stuff.
Yeah.
And this
But
patch,
just Path of Exile, they're just targeting kind of different audiences, But then the people who fill the forum posts forever are kind of the Path of Exile audience. The Diablo 3 players are the more hardcore people, the ones who are doing Paragon 1500, etc. Right? So
well, right, and the season journey that that you had touched on your site had it brings out a lot of tells you, all right, so this is what you can do, and then once you hit this point, then you can go do this part. I mean, it's like a step by step. You had said it before. It's like a step by step way for you to progress in the game, make yourself better.
It's what you should be doing.
Yes, they're trying to get them to understand what kind of progression, where you want to go.
Yeah, I like it that way. I like that.
Oh, yeah, I think it's great.
Respect easily, because everybody says, Diablo, epic loot and whatnot, but getting a legendary, even an ancient legendary, that's fine, but that's not my favorite aspect of the game. The favorite aspect of the game is running down and killing monsters with a build that I made. And I figured out, someone else figured out how to use the best runes and skills and whatnot, and use this and that piece of equipment. And if you don't like it, then you can switch to something else. That's awesome.
Experimentation behind all that
Exactly.
is so fun.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I don't know. Did you, Flux? I think you posted about that Umbra. I don't know. The new ARPG that they kickstarted not too long ago.
Oh, Umbra.
Yeah, I interviewed the guy a month or two ago.
Yeah, I kickstarted it because that looks spectacular. It looks incredible, but I don't they don't give you a lot of idea on how it's actually going to play.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it looks good. They have a lot of big ideas, but of course, getting it all balanced and stuff is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, they're making it. It's only going to be single player initially until they met their Kickstarter goals. But you got to kind of figure it's not going to be rigorously esports balanced. They're just going to have really cool stuff, and you can kind of do whatever you want, and then you make a new character. It's not meant to be 5,000 hours of perfectly balanced whatever, right? They don't have the team size or the budget for that. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it though. I mean, the more competition to Diablo, the better. But yeah, so are you guys worried about the financials of Blizzard regarding Diablo 3? Because they're already talking about patch 2.4. So there's going to be a 2.4 at least before another expansion. So I guess I'm kind of asking, how do I give Blizzard more of my money so that they can keep doing that? But do you think the expansion model just by itself is can they keep on doing that?
They should do it. I like the idea of what Hearthstone does, and they have little releases of because I play Hearthstone usually when I'm on my lunch break or something. Nothing, I'm casual.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they release stuff, I think, is a really good way for them to make money, or even just how they're doing it in China. Those little microtransactions are something simple as like a little buff to experience.
Stash for cash.
Yeah, that too. I know that's
not talk about stash.
ever ongoing. That's an ongoing issue. But at least with Kanai's, you're able to disenchant and get rid of that piece of gear. Like, oh, I'm going to use that now. Sometime I'm going to use that. I'm going to make a build out of that. That gets rid of that. Eventually, you can just leave that in Kanai's cube, and you're done with it. You have a little more space.
So I don't know that I would want D3 to be free to play like Hearthstone or
No, that's
Heroes
not
of the Storm. Because those games are expensive, man. If you look at spending a little bit of money, they are not cheap. Like, it's very easy to spend a lot more than you did for a bugged version of Diablo.
Yeah, you're like, those free-to-play games, man, those are too expensive. I can't play those.
Right.
It's like, wait, what?
It's kind of back.
Free-to-play costs too much. I mean, we all assumed, that was part of the whole real money auction house, was they were taking their cut off of that, and that was going to be how they funded the game long term. I mean, they even said that a few times explicitly. And then obviously real money auction house didn't go over real well long term.
Yeah.
And then we see the stash for cash thing in China that's going pretty well. Or most people, whenever I post news about that, I put a vote and say, "Do you want this?" And most people say, "Yeah, we'd love this right now.
Get it over here."
And they want to buy, even just new colors of wings or new pets, or even it's just cosmetic stuff.
I'd buy that.
And then obviously we all assume there's going to be at least one more expansion, and $50 whatever they charge for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow none of this is happening, and we keep getting these massive patches with tons of content for free.
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys know this is a business, right?
Well, they're still running off of the auction house money that they probably still have that. They're still.
Yeah, I'm sure. From what you hear about their internal reports, Hearthstone is just obscenely profitable. They make so much money off that, they're just sort of overwhelmed by it.
Really?
And that might be taking the pressure off other games. I mean, forever WoW was the huge. WoW made so much money they that kept the lights on.
Well, yeah.
That's how they could have a 10-year development cycle for Diablo 3.
I mean,
maybe they work like Apple. Apple is always saying it doesn't really matter what how much money Division X or Y is making, because we're only looking at what the company as a whole is making. So maybe Blizzard works that way. Who knows?
I think Apple, under Steve Jobs, Apple was certainly very cutthroat internally. I don't know if they've changed somewhat in the years since. But, Blizzard does have different departments, and obviously, they eventually gave up on Titan and kind of, reused parts of that to make Overwatch.
Yeah.
So they worked on that for years and years, and they're making a whole new game out of it. And they still haven't released any of the financial details of Overwatch. Maybe this year at Blizzcon we'll get some of that. How much is going to be free, and if you get new characters or whatever. Mm. And obviously you see Heroes of the Storm, and it's another free thing with, freemium. So it seems pretty likely that, Overwatch is going to go that same route.
Right.
It'll be Heroes of the Storm in an FPS, right?
Yeah.
New maps, new characters, whatever, cost a little money. But then we still have Diablo 3 and StarCraft that are kind of these old school games where there's not, it's not pay to win, it's not even freemium.
Yeah, it's not. It's a new it's like trying to apply a new concept with an old concept, and it just.
And so how do they fund, StarCraft? I don't think they're going to put another expansion out. At some point, they'll probably do StarCraft 3 or Warcraft 4. And then what happens? I mean, how do you make... there are still plenty of companies just making games, and they sell boxes, and that's it, right? But
servers don't run themselves. I mean, it's not cheap.
Yeah, and as you just pointed out, those free games are too expensive to play. They make more money off... Hearthstone makes... I'm sure Hearthstone has made them vastly more money as it is than it would have been if they charged, say, $20 a copy and then everything was free.
But it's hard to switch. Now, what are they going to do? Say, well, starting with a new expansion, we have a subscription model, or we have a freemium model. And everybody's going to be like, what? You can't do that.
Yeah, it's a shock.
Well, they did it in China.
But the game,
but
it was the first
beginning?
release of the game. Like, it was like that from the beginning in China. Like here, they've sold a game and an expansion, just like regular old retail games. Switching to something different, I think, would be hard for people to swallow.
Well, they constantly reduce the price. They have these battle chests. You can buy like the first 4 World of Warcraft expansions for $10 now, right?
Yeah.
You can just jump in. People who played it all along, have spent hundreds of dollars on those. Not even counting $15 a month for 12 years, right?
Yeah. And now now it's mostly just all about. I mean, you can just do it online, download it. You don't even have to go to the store to get it. So I mean, the easier way to be able to, it's easier access. You just go point and click, got it, credit card, whatever,
Right.
download, done.
True.
And they were selling both the first two StarCraft games for $10 a pop. You know, StarCraft 2 and the first expansion, trying to get people caught up for the new one. So obviously they put huge discounts on stuff. If they ever put out another Diablo expansion, I'm sure they'll have D3 and Reaver of Souls for like $10 each probably.
Yeah,
And the same thing happened with the console. Once they put out the Ultimate Evil Edition, which was Reaper of Souls for the PS4, you could buy the whole thing in one game. You didn't have to buy Diablo 3 separately anymore.
Yeah.
So, but then that's free forever on the console. But you do wonder. I keep assuming they want some kind of microtransactions or some kind of like they're doing in China. You can't. It's not really pay to win, but it's certainly pay to gain experience.
Well, I mean, this company is full of smart people, right? So at the time that they decided to take the auction house down, surely they had a lot of meetings about, well, what are we going to do about that stream of income that's going to be gone? How are we going to replace that, or what are we going to do about it? And obviously they haven't shared those plans with anyone because it's not relevant to most people, but I'm sure there's a plan somewhere. There has to be.
And it's taking longer than planned. I mean, we know they had at least 2 expansions planned for Diablo 3, and they were trying to do them 18 months apart.
Yeah.
And the first one came out, I think, 22 months after launch, and they said at the time, well, yeah, it was going to come out sooner, but we had so many emergency patches in Diablo 3 because the launch, it sucked, basically.
Yeah.
Remember when itemization was horrible, they had no Paragon system,
Oh yeah,
etc.
let me just put this intelligence gear on my monk. Let's do it.
Yeah. And so that delayed the first expansion, a few months longer.
Yeah.
And then so we were all thinking they're going to try to get back to 18 months for the next expansion. And when would that be? 2 months from now?
Yep.
But I think now there's also the fact that Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm and still World of Warcraft, like they're not going to do Gamescom and have 2 major announcements, right? It's going to be one or the other. So right now who said, maybe it was one of your articles, because you do what, like 10 a day now? Where you said something about the World of Warcraft players were peeved about the last one, so now they need to do something to sort of drum up the support. So maybe they planned on announcing the new expansion at Gamescom, but World of Warcraft took the stage instead, and so Blizzcon, I don't know. But then they're certainly not going to do more than one major announcement at a time. That's for sure. Nobody does that.
Yeah, if Diablo 3 gets if they get a really big presence at BlizzCon, I think that'd be pretty huge for the game.
That would be awesome, because I'm going for the first time ever.
Oh, man.
And, yeah, I have zero interest in any of the other... I'd go to the session or whatever.
You're just going to play Overwatch for 12 hours a day.
That's going to be a big thing, yeah.
Yeah.
You're just going to be in line to play Overwatch. Just get your thumbs in shape right now.
I've seen some videos of that game.
Overwatch for the PS4. That's you, all weekend. Right in front row.
No, I can't, no.
Yeah, there's lots of you can watch the World of Warcraft movie trailer too. That'll be upstairs in the big theater, and you can suffer permanent hearing loss. I think my ears occasionally still ring. I think from last year watching the trailer of that thing. They were very proud of the sound, though. It was some huge theater with like 1,000 speakers all around it, and they had this like 5-minute intro at the start of it, like telling you all the magic of the surround sound and how you could like hear all the different, this visual thing on the screen showing how you could hear like all the speakers and the back middle and the lower left and the upper right and all this kind of stuff. And then it was at like 400,000 decibels. I'm like, okay, I can't hear anything now.
Yeah, and
that's what they did. What though? Talking about sound, like the other day, I have a 5.1 system downstairs, but I almost never use it to play games anyway. But for some reason, I started Diablo 3 on the PlayStation 4, and that game is like everybody plays it muted these days, right? Because you know what the game sounds like. But the sound design is actually pretty incredible if you just take the time to actually immerse yourself in it, like in a 5.1 system. It's pretty amazing.
Ruins of Sescheron, I love the music there is awesome.
Yeah. But even like the situational, like, is that what you call it? Like you hear like the front to rear and left to right pans. You hear the goblin is on the right somewhere. Like you hear all those sounds. Like it's really pretty amazing.
Yeah, the goblin giggle is actually very handy.
Yeah.
You can hear which way that's coming from.
Yeah.
Because you'll get them sometimes in a big cave, in a big a maze kind of area, and you really can't tell.
Yeah.
There's multiple ways you could go, and it's like, where are they? Where are they? I want to find them.
Yeah. And then you realize it's someone wearing a puzzle ring, and you're all mad.
Well, that's the problem with your public games, man.
Yeah.
That's why you play solo and get a tenth the experience.
Yeah, right.
At least you know where the goblins are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of, I do like
There's some weird sound effect now whenever you scroll down the list of the clan. We keep adding people in the clan on the PTR, people just jumping in, and when you scroll down, there's like this weird giggling, screeching noise. I think it's every time you see a witch doctor.
Oh, I thought it was the pet. Oh, I thought that was what it was.
It's something as you go down the list, and
sounds
it's
like
really
you're
annoying
stepping
sound.
in mud.
Yeah, maybe it's when people have pets activated or something, but I don't know. It didn't used to do that as loudly as it does now, but whenever I'm scrolling down there trying to add new guild people or see who else just joined or whatever, it's this gracka, gracka, like this little screechy noise all the time.
I haven't noticed that.
Maybe it's Bashiok. Auditioning, and to turn it off, I just posted this as a podcast now. I was going to talk to you guys for like half an hour, and here it is an hour, so I guess it'll be a podcast.
All right.
And we can try to get your mic a little louder next time, Dave, except for the audio, except for the echoing audio. Who knows?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was too loud. I'll work on it.
When you talk, and then you get to the last few words, and it gets really violent.
Yeah, maybe that's me. I'm not.
Kind of trail off on. I don't have to do some audio adjusting
I'm not a
on the
professional podcaster.
on the editing.
Yet.
Yes, unlike the rest of us.
Yeah.
Audio technique. Okay, so guys, thank you. You've been listening to Dragoonus and Dave the Brave, and did I pronounce it? What is it? Dragoonus?
Yep,
Dragoonus.
Dragoonus.
I hate everyone's name.
Yep.
Could you put some more vowels in there?
Yeah, I'll work on it. I'll let you know.
When you get hired at Blizzard, you need to put at least 3 more vowels in there.
Fair enough.
It'll be Drea Goiaya Noiaya.
Oh yeah.
Ballistus.
Is this where we say moo?
Almost.
Almost.
You've been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at Diablo Inc. Gamer. God damn it. It's DiabloII.net. Did either of you guys even read the site that was DiabloII.net?
Yeah, but
you didn't know we existed then, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but
yeah.
I know you struggle with it every week.
Well, I said, it's been Diablo Gamer since we started doing the podcast, so it's been 3 years of programming into my brain, so I can't say other words.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You are listening to DiabloII.net podcast. Thank you for listening, and secret moo. The trick is you have to move really loudly because it never picks up audio otherwise.
Moo.